Hello, I am here live, my last night in a hotel in Florida, ready to head home tomorrow. And I wanted to come on and talk tonight about artificial sweeteners, sugar, the taste of sweet. I am really just conveying my experience and my experience of coaching many. And I've had so many questions over the many years about, can I have 90% dark chocolate? Can I use stevia? How about my monk fruit? Can I have a little fruit? Can I use honey? So all these questions come up over and over again, and I consistently give the same answer. And I'm giving the answer from my experience and my knowledge of this sugar and sweetness addiction, carb addiction, processed food addiction. It's so important to be able to get free of the cravings and get free of the draw of that addiction. So important to not let any taste of sweet pass over those sweet sensors on your tongue, or else where are we? We are over and over again just triggering the cravings. We can talk all neuroscience about mirror neurons and lizard brain and dopamine hits, and we could go into those different topics. But what I really wanted to do was keep this really straightforward and simple, and talk to you all about your own personal experience. And I'm going to tell you, so many people will write that they did okay on keto until it didn't work anymore, until they realized they were binging on keto treats or looking forward to on a daily basis that next keto treat, and then having a couple too many, and then the next day looking forward to finishing them. And it derails people. And I know for me, it was so important to get all taste of sweet out, or I was continually craving in a very uncomfortable, very non-sustainable way, because eventually that ditch demon, which you guys know if you listen to me, I call that voice in your head that keeps driving you back into the ditch and makes excuses. Well, it's just honey. Well, it's just some blueberries, and blueberries are fine on keto. And I don't know if any of you have done similar to what I have, which is you could pretty much eat a pint of blueberries and forget about dried apricots or any sort of fruit. For anybody who's had this, and I outright call it an addiction, and you know what I mean. And there's about 80% of the population that has some sort of addiction to these things. So think really long and hard to yourself of what's that last thing you're still grasping onto. And I know I'm talking to an audience of so many varied places that you are in your journey. Some of you might just be at the point where you're just trying to get out of the whole standard American diet, and the thought of giving up your Diet Coke sends you in a tizzy. Or when I recommend people stop chewing chewing gum and they realize that they've got a pack of gum everywhere, in their drawer, in their car, in their purse, in the bathroom, at work, and they realize how often they're putting this in their mouth to get that next fresh burst of sweetness. So I like to try to set people on the right path as quickly as possible, because it's not going to work to keep craving. it didn't work for me. Let me just back it up and tell you, just from my personal experience, it's so important to not continually put in that taste of sweet. Now, I know many people cannot imagine life without their coffee, and along with coffee typically comes a little stevia or skinny girl or some sort of this keto approved um, flavoring, which always has a sweetness with a sweetener in it. And then where are you at? The next day, you're craving it and wanting it again. And to free yourself of this, it's abstinence. And I know it's so hard to imagine life without that thing that we cling so tightly to, whether it's the Diet Coke or the gum or the uh, a lot of people are reliant on that just a little bit. They say, I just put a few drops in of whatever that sweetener is into their coffee. And to understand that that really just keeps you in that level of your journey that most people can't elevate out of because of how it drags you down. Some people will say, no, it doesn't cause me to crave other sweet things, and I don't eat cookies and ice cream. And to that, I say, if you are doing fabulous, and let's say you've gotten to the point where you've eliminated all the standard American junk and you have no medical diagnosis, no medications you are on, and you are at your ideal lean body weight, and you use a little stevia from time to time or in your coffee, but coffee's a whole nother topic I'm going to do an entire video on, because that's another thing that I really encourage everybody to get out of their bodies. And I think that it's so important to understand that if you're at that perfect spot in your journey and you have done so much, and I know it's hard to think, I've eliminated so much, please don't take away my sweetener. If you're doing great, then I say, I guess, have at it. Now, let me pull back that comment though, because some people will ask, well, is this safe to use long term? Honestly, I am going to say that I don't believe there's any valid long term studies on any of it. I'm a huge advocate of not putting anything past your lips that comes in a box, a bag, a bottle, or a jar. I mean, aside from maybe pork rinds that come in a bag, or somebody's going to come at me with something. But in general, these products, these sweeteners, are chemically made, pulverized, powdered. They're in a bag. You're scooping it out and putting it into keto desserts. It's certainly not at all carnivore. I mean, there's nothing in the world of artificial sweeteners that is carnivore. So I'm really addressing the keto crew here, but there are many, many, many people who are carnivore in every other aspect of what they eat and drink, except for the sweetener. And let's go into the elementary electrolytes. That there's the lemon lime, there's the raspberry, there's, oh, they have a new chocolate one and a chocolate mint one that I'm sure if any of you are into doing the electrolytes know all about that, because that's the latest craze of what people are going, oh my gosh, have you tasted that? Well, what does that drive you to do? Crave and keep on the sweetener. So I think it's really important to think about why you are eating it, why you are continuing to want to put that into your body. And so when I talk about that there's no long-term legitimate studies, I'm going to tell you that I have not seen a single one where I'm comfortable I don't think that they are being funded, any of these studies, by anybody other than the food industry who can profit from it, who can cherry pick from a whole slew of studies, the specific ones they want to pull and put out that this is the valid study, that what we're promoting as safe. So I'm cynical. I'm very cynical about anything like that. And I'm just going to say, for putting and let's just call it a chemical into our bodies for the purpose of uh, throwing a sweetness onto our sweet sensors on the tongue, we have to think long and hard if that's something that we want to do for the rest of our lives. And why do I say the rest of your life? Because at what point are you going to give it up? And why do you want to give it up if you are feeding your sugar addiction, your sweet addiction? So I don't know. You can make comments here and let me know your experience. I'm going to start reading through, and you can tell me a little bit uh, about either doing well with them. I'm open to hear your point of view. Karen Smith says, at this point, I feel like if I have my coffee with cream and stevia, it keeps from worse options for now, but I do want to progress and let go someday. Yeah, so you could use it, say that you're using it as a bridge to succeed in not eating, like you said, the worst options. And again, if that's working well and you're dropping weight, if that's your goal, and you're getting off medication and you have no skin issues, and you're not having postnasal drip or allergic type issues, and you're feeling great, I'm not here to be dogmatic and tell anybody you got to get rid of this. I'm here to talk about my own personal experience and many who have been trying hard to come off of the whole sugar, carb, processed food issue. And having sweeteners in your life is a hindrance. And the thinking about giving them up is, I know, really difficult. But if you want to make a change, you have to consider the fact that change is not easy, and it's going to take an effort to um, really decide that you're going to draw the line and say, let me just try it for 90 days. Can you do it for 90 days? And if you can't, then think seriously about how addicted you are to a substance if you can't even let it go for a 3-month period. Tammy says, just starting out and I'm tracking my food. I can easily overeat trying to lose weight. Yeah. So the other thing with the sweeteners is it does affect your insulin, and it does affect potential, let's say, plateaus or hindrance of weight loss. So think long and hard if your goal is to lose weight. And then some people will chime in, I'm sure, and say, well, I have it every day and I'm still losing weight. And to that, I'd say, great, keep going. If you feel like you're being, if you're successful right now on the path you're on, I just want to at least lay out the thought and the option that you should consider of getting rid of it up front and being free. You can't imagine how freeing it is once you're not craving it, allowing it, not allowing it, deciding to have it, not have it, how much am I going to have? And you have to really think hard about what I'm saying. And if nothing else, give it a trial period just to learn for yourself valuable information about just how addicted you are to it. And see if you are able to give it up, and giving it up, what benefit do you get from it, as far as even that benefit of being free and feeling free, of having the thought. And there's all sorts of other options that are sweetener free that you can use as substitutes from the worst alternative, which there's the creme brulee recipe, which is, pretty much heavy cream and egg yolks, and you can make that into a type of pudding. Again, no sweetener. There is, I'm really a big fan of this butter nog drink that I make, and I use it to help people to get off of their coffee habit or off their sweetener habit. It's not sweet, but you can make a combination of, let's say, couple tablespoons of melted butter, um, hot water, and if you tolerate dairy, put a little heavy cream, whisk it, and while you're whisking that with the real hot water, I do mine actually boiling water, pour in a couple raw egg yolks, keep whisking it, and it turns into this delicious, warm, creamy beverage, buttery, creamy, egg yolky beverage that can really help get you over the hurdle. And that's what this is really about, is thinking to yourself, instead of going to what I've been going to day after day, time after time, a lot of times it's for an emotional event. We're having an emotional, whether it's like just anxiety, stress, anger, boredom, whatever that emotional event that's happening that's driving us toward that favorite old friend, comfort, addictive sweetener, you have to remember that it's really going to help to have an alternative that, and sometimes it can be actually, if you get a real good quality bone broth or make it yourself, and you can whisk in hot melted butter into that with, touch of seasoned salt or black truffle salt. It's amazingly delicious. And to do something that's savory, a touch salty, compared to trying to soothe your emotional event with a stevia coffee, you got to remember there are alternatives, and it becomes a mindset, and it becomes, how driven we are by habits. So remember that you can change your habit, you can change your normal. And until you do, until you make that effort, put sticky notes on your mirror in the bathroom. So when you, in the morning, you have that commitment to yourself, and you say, I'm going to do another day, no sweeteners, and give a little list to yourself of what you're going to use instead. Just have a visual reminder. At the beginning, it's really hard because we really want to keep going back to where we were. So I'm going to go into the chat. Thank you so much for joining me here live. I'm going to see. So somebody says, what about flavored sparkling water? Does a natural flavor have a hidden sweetener also? Can it affect your microbiome? Interesting, great question. Aside from the fact that the cans are typically lined with plastic, or they come in a 1-liter bottle, plastic, I make my own with the Aquafizz Soda Stream, and it's only one. Well, no, actually, there's two now. I'll have to maybe try to put the link to them both. But the one I have goes into glass carafes, and I bought extra. I make 4 at a time. I keep them in my refrigerator, and then I know I have pure. I use my reverse osmosis water to make it, and it works great. And then if you watch my other video, I tell you how I put about a tablespoon of apple cider vinegar to about 16 to 20 ounces of the seltzer. And it's a really, really tasty, beneficial drink. It helps with your insulin resistance. And I'm going to segue that into help potentially with weight loss. It definitely also has been shown to have a muting effect on appetite. So lots of benefits that I really encourage you to try it. It's ideal to do it before a meal. Most of the time I kind of forget, and I have it right after my meal. But so let me get back into what you said about asking about the flavored sparkling water. So There's also some thought about the sparkling water being carbon dioxide, and we are expelling carbon dioxide on our exhale. Why are we putting carbon dioxide in with this drink? I get it. For me, it was very instrumental in my whole journey on this. I love the cold, fizzy burn of the seltzer. I used to years ago, before I knew any better, used to love Fresca and Diet Coke, and this is just a enjoyable drink for me, and especially with the apple cider vinegar because I do not like it in still flat water. I only like it in the mineral water or seltzer water. So there I go off on this tangent about I'm not really answering your question. I don't believe there's hidden sweeteners in them. They don't taste sweet to me. I do enjoy sometimes having a flavored seltzer. I've really more come upon if I have them, I actually dilute it out with my plain seltzer because the flavored seltzers actually end up starting to taste too intense on the flavor. But all that to say, I give it a thumbs up, especially for people who are, coming off of a lifetime of drinking soda pop, whatever you call it. Um, it doesn't trigger, and believe me, I was like as severe as it gets with sugar and carb addiction. The flavored seltzers do not trigger me into falling in the ditch, going down the slippery slope. So everybody's experience is different though, because I have seen back a ways ago when I was reading in some other forums, I remember seeing some people say they cannot have the flavored seltzers, that it triggers them. So this is a bit of an individual kind of thing. But again, I just am giving you my personal experience. I'm a few days away from my 14-year carniversary, and I love to just let you know how it was for me to make it easier to transition and get over a lot of the issues that come about from this. How long did it take you to give up sweetness, and what helped you make that decision? So I did it. I just had to do it cold turkey. There was no way that I was going to go back in the ditch and go back into my addiction. I was so adamant that I was done with it and that I knew having sweeteners was going to not be good. So it was, and for most people, it's about 2 to 3 weeks of, let's just call it white knuckling it through the physical withdrawal and cravings of the taste of sweet. So, but again, everybody's different. And, really what helped make my decision was just that I finally, realized that this really truly is an addiction and the only way out of it was abstinence. And that I was fortunate enough to have found zeroing in on health group and this whole zero carb carnivore way of eating and way of life that I was able to understand that I will actually be really healthy just eating meat, seafood, and eggs. Um, so Pirate Pete says they hide ingredients when it says natural flavor. It's very possible. I'm not here to say that that's a perfect drink. Ideally, we would all just drink reverse osmosis water, mineral water, distilled water. I mean, there's all sorts of different issues with water too. So, but I think also that we have to be a little bit flexible with ourselves. And if having seltzer or flavored seltzer helps get you through, then use it as a bridge or a crutch and understand that, hey, maybe for myself, maybe this will be something that I say, I'm done with seltzer. I really do try. I used to drink a lot of seltzer, and now I try to really drink mainly uh, still water, my reverse osmosis water, and I do have some of the seltzer here and there. But ideally, I think you would not not drink solely just the seltzer water. Let's see. I'm gonna go up to okay, yeah. So I see a couple comments about that you're not so happy. I'm never a popular person when I talk about the coffee. And think about how incredible it is that how many millions of people are addicted to that psychoactive drug. I mean, in a very serious way. And every single day you got to make it, or else you're going through withdrawals. And like I said, I'm gonna do a separate video on coffee, and I know it won't be a popular video, but I'm going to at least try to put as much information out there of really the truth behind how it does raise triglycerides, it does mess up your microbiome, and it does mess up your cortisol and your adrenals, and it should not be put in your body day after day after day. And think about it. Well, are you 40 or 50 years old right now? Are you going to drink it another 40 or 50 years every single day? Some people multiple times a day. This is not a health food. It's a seed, it's not a bean. So I'm not going to go on the coffee tangent because somebody I think criticized me once that I end up talking about this coffee thing. But and I'll be the first to admit too, I drank coffee for the first 4 years of after going carnivore because I couldn't imagine, like many of you, life without it. And I enjoyed it. And it's the warmth and the ritual and a lot of things that we like about it. And I just didn't want to be addicted to anything. And fortunately, I um, did the cold turkey thing on that too. Okay. Let's see. Maria says she lost 71 pounds and reversed type 2 diabetes over a year, but last 6 months cannot lose anything, eating exactly the same. Yeah, so you have to make a change. And you have to consider the fact that now that you're 71 pounds down, eating the exact same is sustaining that current weight and is not going to further drop your weight. So it's either start, challenge yourself, say, I'm going to do 8,000 steps a day, every day. And not only, I don't like people to think that that's what they need to do to burn calories to drop weight. It does a huge benefit to your glucose and insulin sensitivity and your continued path to health. And it's not just burning the calories. So, you might want to track your ketones and glucose. You might want to spend a little time for a month or two tracking exactly what you are eating and what the percentage of fat to protein it is and how many calories, because ultimately calories do matter. Let's see. Kimba says she's 4 months strict carnivore, still cravings. All I have to do is smell coffee or see ice cream or smell waffles cooking. All triggers of old unhealthy habits. Yeah, and that's really important to think about, the constant triggers that we are exposed to on a daily basis. Well, sometimes you can avoid them and stay sheltered and just live in your little bubble, but inevitably there's work, there's family situations, there's social situations, and just pretty much going out into the world, you'll see billboards, you'll pass your old stomping grounds of favorite binge food places. So just remember, you have to change your relationship with food. You have to change your attitude. And it's not, you have to think, it's not that I can't have those foods anymore. I choose not to have them. I know how toxic and inflammatory they are and how they will lead to illness, disease, and not a happy forever after aging process if we're still in that addiction. So just remember, that's what it has to come down to, is a whole change of your mindset. You have to just get to that point where you say, I'm not interested in waffles or ice cream. I'm just not interested in putting that toxic stuff in my body. You have to really keep For me, a lot of times I still, to this day, I will listen to different podcasts. There's so many about sugar and food addiction, and it's really helpful to keep educating yourself, understanding, and learning about the detrimental effects of these things that we used to be so addicted to, or we still are addicted to. Let's say we're in remission, or I'm sharing that video there. I love all your information. Oh, hi, Doris. Thank you. And let me just see. Christina says, I do coffee as I hear it is good for the liver. Was that funded by the coffee bean industry, that study that they cherry picked about the good for the liver? But I don't do any artificial or real sweeteners. I find stevia is highly addictive to my palate, so you stopped. Yeah. So yeah, even I say even drinking black coffee, and then people say, oh, well, I do organic fair trade coffee, so I'm okay. I'm going to put links again in this show notes here about the couple really significant articles about the toxicology behind the 700 different components of actual coffee aside from the caffeine. So, but I get it. I drank it for a while. I'm not judging. And if that's still something that's helping you out and kind of keeping you still on track toward better health, then I don't want to take it away from anybody. I just want to express my thoughts on it, and where you might want to head in your thought pattern about it, and see where you go. Let's see. Fresca, do they still make that? I think they do. I think actually, in the store, I think I saw even a peach Fresca. And of course, they have to, escalate it to another level. But yeah, pretty sure they still make Fresca. It kind of had that citrusy, grapefruity tang to it that I really liked. Yeah, wow. Yao girl says there's nothing better than taking a swig of cold sparkling water first thing in the morning. Yeah, I do that sometimes. I do. Let's see. Room temperature water is best because the body has to heat up cold water when you drink it. Yep, there is a lot of information about that. Oh, Sherry, thank you so much. Sherry says, I've lost most of my eyelashes on one eye. Do you, extreme autoimmune flare, do you think it's okay to use Latisse? Okay, so interesting, Sherry. It's just one eye, because typically, and I'll just say from my experience of 32 years as an eye doctor, and also from just my experience in this whole sort of carnivore world, autoimmune flares are systemic, and they are what we call typically express themselves bilaterally. So both eyes, not just one eye. And so, but I mean, I'm not going to discount that it could be still from an autoimmune flare and potentially kind of attacked one eye more than the other. But I think we need to look into other possibilities of why the lashes just on one eye have, it's called trichiasis, when the lashes fall out. All right. And as far as Latisse, okay, so there's issues with everything, side effects with everything. The big one that people with Latisse, you can Google anything and type in Latisse horror stories or whatever. But yeah, there's a chance that it will change your eye color, especially if you are concentrating it on one eye. Some of it that will potentially get onto your surface of your eye, into your tears. It can cause the iris to change color. So that might be not such a great one. There are a couple natural versions of Latisse. Latisse was actually originally a glaucoma medication. And they found the wonderful side effect of some of these people who were using that medication for their glaucoma. Um, it's called Lumigan. It's a glaucoma drug name. Uh, said, wow, my lashes are incredible. So therein comes the birth of a new drug. But I'm going to tell you that there are better alternatives to Latisse, and I would definitely look into that before plunging into the Latisse. Uh, Funny things, I don't care for coffee, but my son makes it. I personally prefer black tea. Okay, Christina, and I don't want to burst your bubble here, but from everything that I've looked at and researched, Sophia Clemens from the PKD Paleomedicina in Hungary, and they treat significant diseases with a PKD diet. She's got a lot of information, and she specifically, um, it's an absolute. The patients that come for that treatment, no coffee, no tea, and she said, and I've heard her say it in a number of different presentations she's done, tea is worse than coffee. Maybe because it's the leaves of a plant. I'm not exactly sure. I got to look further into seeing if I can find out what information she has regarding information backing that up. But I've heard her say it a couple times, and let's face it, neither of them are ideal. I do hot water and I float a wedge of uh, lemon, and it tastes incredibly like herbal tea in the most bizarre way. And I never in a million years would have ever thought I would enjoy hot water. I would think that's the most disgusting, bland thing, but I really enjoy it. And so I'll just throw that out there because, and then people say, my God, what the hell can I drink? What can I eat? Are we all just down to meat, seafood, and eggs and water? And no, I mean, because then some people say, well, what's the point? What's the purpose of this? If I can't enjoy my food and drink. So um, I get it. Mary C says 100% carnivore for the last 2 weeks, had 1 teaspoon of LMT, and I saw my glucose rise the next morning. I'll stick to sparkling with apple cider vinegar, having it now in the morning in hot water, feeling great. Interesting. I never tried apple cider vinegar in hot water. I'm going to have to experiment with that because I'm always shocked at what I thought I would never like that I end up liking. So, hello, Lisa. I started carnivore 3 weeks ago, down 13 pounds. Wow. But I zero hunger and fast 18 to 20 hours. I've stopped everything, tea, sweetener. I've upped my fat and less protein. Yeah, so it sounds pretty dramatic to many people and extremely, freakish to eliminate everything, especially in a very quick, cold turkey kind of way, to go right down to meat, seafood, and eggs. And but I think you will learn an incredible amount about yourself by doing that total elimination. Even I tell people try meat and water first and just go from there, and then add eggs and then go from there. But if you do it long enough and you get so many benefits, you're not going to want to add back in the coffee or the tea or the sweeteners. And I know it's really hard though. I'm going to say most people, you have to have that really strong why that makes you cry. What's that really strong driving force that is causing you to say, you know what, I really want to make a change. Okay, let's see. I like drinking saffron tea. Never had saffron tea. Okay, so Sherry says apple cider vinegar in hot water actually tastes sweet. That's interesting. So, those of you who have tried or regularly use apple cider vinegar in hot water, are you talking about like a mug of coffee size? Let's just, I hate to use the coffee mug term, but let's say you have a coffee mug. Are you putting in a teaspoon, a tablespoon, 2 tablespoons? What are you putting in there? Because the one thing that we have to remember is that we want the apple cider vinegar to be diluted. I personally do not ever recommend taking a shot of it because of damaging the enamel of your teeth or also damaging either your esophagus lining because it's a very potent acid. So so Mary says, yes, a mug of 12 ounces and a tablespoon. Okay. I just wanted to get a starting point of where I'm going to start when I try this. I just gave up my coffee 4 days ago and stevia. Good for you. I had a headache today, but I fought through it and you're okay. Yeah. You know what? It does really suck to go through the withdrawals for 2, 3, 4 days. You'll feel fatigued. You will typically get that headache, but just remember this. I say to embrace that really crappy withdrawal period. Embrace it as you saying, wow, my body is getting rid of these toxins. And look at how my body's reacting to not getting this psychotropic drug. I mean, you have to really yeah, look at it as a positive and just think about how you'll come out on the other side with all this amazing energy and not being addicted to caffeine anymore. I have a few videos on the herbal teas I use on here. Mary, we are twins. Apple cider vinegar in bone broth with ground beef and eggs is magic. Interesting. You know what? I do put apple cider vinegar in when I've made bone broth because it does help soften the bones and pulls out the cartilage. And I do like the flavor of it. But I didn't think about putting ground beef and eggs together with it. It sounds like a really great soup. It's a real test to be stronger than all the addictions we've accumulated. Yeah, that's a very powerful statement because there's a big thing about cross addicting. You know, we tend to cross addict. We come off of one and we push our dependence onto something else. So it's really important to think long and hard about what emotional void are we trying to fill, or what is the actual relationship with that addictive substance that is causing us to either numb our feelings instead of actually sitting in the feeling and really trying to get through it without using, alcohol, sugar, drugs, nicotine, caffeine. I mean, people don't really think of caffeine really so much as one of those addictive substances, but it really most certainly is. Yeah, so Sherry did say, yep, soup. So Beth says that the apple cider vinegar is most tolerable in hot water, 1 mug, 2 tablespoons. I'm thinking 2 tablespoons in 1 mug of coffee is going to be quite a taste sensation. I'm gonna try 1 tablespoon first and ease myself into it. But 2 would be fine as far as that's actually what Ben Bickman talks about for the dose to use for lowering the glucose and getting your appetite better. Pirate Pete says, I'm Dr. Lisa's age. I'm 58. Cindy says this is called transfer addiction. Yeah, I think Joan Iflin calls it transfer addiction. I just like the term cross addiction because I feel like I've, yeah, but transfer is a perfect word too. I've always just heard it as cross addiction. You've crossed onto another addiction. You ever known anyone who had their vision get worse or who developed dark under eye circles on the carnivore diet? All right. So interesting that you bring this up because I have a very dear friend who was for many years on a very strict carnivore, basically meat and water only, and did remarkably well. And now has realized that over time, and she was just thinking it kind of came on just from natural aging changes, but was getting dark circles under her eyes. And I've had some report to me that dairy was a big culprit in the circles and bags under the eyes. And so now I have my friend doing this experiment. I can't wait. She's on day 2, but I'm going to report back for this. I'm actually going to have her take pictures of her eyes now, and we'll see what happens in 3 months because she is extremely dedicated to doing this experiment to see if it's going to eradicate the dark circles. But and then as far as their vision getting worse, I've had so many report that their vision has improved. They needed weaker glasses. I've had people report that their glaucoma, their eye pressure has improved. I've had people tell me that their early macular degeneration has actually totally resolved or improved. So I have not had anybody actually tell me their vision got worse. The question is, how old is that person? Was there another reason behind the vision change? Blood sugar changes can actually change your prescription. So maybe some people who are having a blood sugar shift because of improving it based on eating a no carb diet, that maybe that's shifting their vision. But I haven't had anybody reporting their vision getting worse. Some people get little crystals. The oxalate dumping can happen along the eyelid margin, little kind of crusty and crystalline kind of thing. So anybody who might have been big on juicing, big on spinach, big on almonds, think about, and if you have some eye problems, it could be that. My first time on, did you have to cook for a husband and children that weren't carnivore? Absolutely, yes, Christy, I did. What I tended to do was I would make lots of things on the grill for the dinner. It would be sausage and steak and some chicken, and I would make some rice for them. And I kind of got really lax on the vegetable part. But I would figure out, like, sometimes I would throw those baby carrots on the plate for my kids, just because I started learning more and more of the anti-nutrients that are in vegetables. And now all of a sudden, as a parent, you feel like you don't have to push them to eat them. So yeah, that happened. But it was tough for me. They still wanted mac and cheese. My kids were about 12 and 14, no, 10 and 12 when I came into this. And they were already well into pasta and pizza. And I had a hard enough time dealing with my own issues and my own situation with coming to terms with what I was doing and trying to figure out if it was actually healthy and all that, that I was not going to like all of a sudden push it on them and dictate that's the way they ate. So that's it would be a totally different situation now, and I really do wish that I had found this a long time ago, before my kids were even born, and it would have been a totally different situation. So I really I I really have strong recommendations for people who are in a family situation where there is, the standard American or standard atrocious diet crap around, and start making changes because you don't want to, these are your loved ones. You don't want to see them in ill health. And if the kids are small enough, young enough, instead, if they're used to whatever, Rice Krispie treats and cookies, you can just say, Mommy doesn't buy that anymore, but here's some whipped cream with blueberries or raspberries, and you just whip heavy whipping cream, maybe put a splash of vanilla extract, sprinkle a little cinnamon, and throw a bunch of berries on, and that's their new dessert. And, like I said, it's different depending on their age, how much you can get away with that. But you're the one with the credit card, and you're buying the food, so you can start making gradual changes, and that is really helpful for them starting to then see how you are eating and lead by example. Let's see. G Rocka says, question, I've cut all my caffeine. I eat coffee, but I still take a pre-workout powder before I work out. Your thoughts? Well, I'm assuming that pre-workout powder has caffeine in it. So to me, that's a definite no. And I'm also not a pre-workout powder person. I think you're putting something in your body that's processed in a factory, powdered, put into a container, and now you're scooping. Well, why not just have steak and eggs before your workout or after your workout? Why are you but see, a lot of times these things, they almost always, they're either vanilla or chocolate, and they've got sweeteners in them. And again, all of that for me, guiding you is telling you dead set no. Why are we doing this? Well, you said, I feel like I get a great workout and you push harder. Um, have some steak and eggs and see if you can push harder with that. I'm I know I'm not making any friends when I go hard on some of these things, but I just don't feel it's a natural substance that belongs in your body. I mean, think about man walking this earth, right? Are they coming upon a container of pre-workout and chocolate flavored with stevia and caffeine? um, and again, this is all about healing. And if you're doing great and you're at your ideal weight and you have no problems with your health, and that pre-workout makes you happy and makes you feel like you're doing better at the gym, then go for it. Let's see. Yannette Thomas says, hi, I'm on the carnivore diet. Want to know how much protein and fat you should be consuming. Yeah, tough question for me to answer in a sentence like that because, it's first of all, there's no manual out here that gives us that definitive answer. Secondly, there is a lot of conflicting information regarding that. I'm not a fan of low protein. I never have been. Adequate protein, moderate protein is subjective. High protein, also subjective. What's high? So you can do all the research you want, and you will find that there's so many different recommendations as far as, 1 gram per kilogram of ideal body weight, 1 gram per kilogram of lean mass body weight, meaning just your muscle mass taken from like a DEXA scan, 0.8 times, there's so many different calculations. Bottom line is you really have to, if you really want to figure out for yourself, I say one of the best things is to start tracking. I love using My Net Diary. It's a free app. It's very user friendly. You can easily input food. See what you naturally tend to eat. See how much protein it is, how much fat, what's your percentage ratio? I mean, I usually try to tell people to start at doing 70-30, 70% um, fat to 30% protein. Or you can, some people I say just, they don't want to track it all, make it simple, just on the things you're eating, do 2 times the amount of fat to the grams of fat, 2 grams of protein. And that puts you at about a 75-25 ratio. Sherry says, how long does it take for the oxalate to leave the eyes? And can this cause an eye bleed? I have petechia in both eyes as well. Interesting about the petechia. That I'm going to say, yes, I think that is a potential for that issue. I cannot answer how long it takes because how much spinach did you have? How much almonds did you eat? Did you have smoothies to the nth degree? And how long, I don't know, and you won't know, how long is it going to take your body to process and expel out the oxalate? So not easy to answer that time frame. Things are so difficult because our bodies heal on different time frames. And, you know, depends on how old you are as far as how many decades did we treat our bodies like garbage cans to now get to this point with all this knowledge and changing our way of eating. And so now, all right, let's give our body a chance here. This was 40, 50 years of treating ourselves like the trash can. And we can't expect things to reverse in 4 or 5 months. And sometimes I just say you will notice changes gradually over time, over a long period of time as your body keeps healing. All right, I'm going to answer one more over here because I know we were already out of time. I've been strict carnivore for 8 months. I still have the crusty eye thing. Used to do all the fruit and greens for years. Okay, so Kelly, that's exactly what I was just saying. This is something that, well, let's put it this way. Look at it as a positive thing because it is your body really expressing out the oxalates. And you have to really think about that. What I just said, 8 months is just a little blip on the radar compared to the rest of the, let's say, the from birth until 8 months ago, right? And it's, I know I hate saying this, but you got to just be patient. You got to stick with it and trust that this, I think, is the hardest thing when you get all that conflicting information, to trust still that what you're doing is the right thing. And a lot of times things get a little worse before they get better, especially with people who have histamine issues, who have leaky gut microbiome issues, and for people who have oxalate issues. So stick with it. Try to think about all of the other, I'm going to assume there's a lot of other positive changes that are happening at the same time, and realize that it's your body is definitely improving and healing. So, all right, I'm going to jump off. I have to pack with an early morning flight tomorrow. So I just wanted to jump on here and have this talk about the sweeteners and do a little Q&A with you all. Thank you so much for joining. And I am going to really try to plan some really neat lives coming up in the weeks ahead. Next week, I'm not sure what I'm going to do, but I really wanted to have a 14-year carniversary celebration live of some sort for me. And then after that, I was thinking about doing, somebody brought up a topic of seafood and salmon recipes. And I might do a live where I kind of partially prep a lot of different things and start showing you different, like a seafood medley, how an awesome few ways to prepare salmon. Because there are people who really do. I don't eat that much fish at all, but I do really like a seafood medley. And every once in a while, I really enjoy a piece of salmon. And I think it would help just because some people are really say that they get really tired of eating beef every day. I don't. I love it, but I think it would be a really great video to just show different seafood type options too. So, all right. Thanks for joining. See you next week.